welcome to Percussion Axiom TV. I am your host, Tom Burritt, and we are back here for episode 32. And today we're going to finish up the Stout Etude that we've been working on the past several shows. But before we did that, I just wanted to say hey to a couple of you guys that I met here at CBDNA, here at the Butler School in Austin. This past week, it was really cool to see to match your faces with your profile, I guess, and meet you in real life after interacting online. And that's kind of a really cool thing about this, is as we develop these as relationships, you know, through the show, as we travel around, we can kind of meet up with people, and it's really, really fun, actually. Also, a big shout out and congratulations to Andy Bliss. Andy Bliss won the little contest we ran last week, and if he likes that, we'll see about doing that again. The response to that, you guys, was really, really, really cool, and it was more intense than I suspected. So, not that the prize was anything that special, but I'm sure it was just the fun of kind of interacting, and yeah, that was so much fun. Thank you so much for participating in that. The sound clip of the David Lang duo piece, Table of Contents, is still up on thomasburritt.tumblr.com, and geez, I can't, I mean, there were so many responses to that, and congratulations to Andy, who at the very last minute, at 11 p.m., actually got the answer. So congratulations, Andy. Send me your address so I can send you the prize, and we'll try to do that again. All right, so on with today's show. We're going to finish up the etude today, and today's axiom is my 50-50 rule. Okay, and so we're going to kind of get into this a little bit. So what I mean by 50% rule is, you know, every piece I think has a different percentage of kind of where you have to work. All right, so like for example, the Stout Etude we've been learning, I think probably 70% of the whole thing that you would want to be able to do in performance is probably, you know, 70% of that work in a successful performance is probably just in learning all the notes, right? I mean, there's a lot of notes to learn, a lot of details. And then maybe that other 30% is interpretive. So you think of the 70% as sort of, you know, finite or definite, right? You got to learn the rhythms right, you learn the pitches right, or you don't. But that last percentage, that 30% in this case, is really indefinite. It's how much expression should I use, what's appropriate, what isn't appropriate. Okay, and you have to delve on all kinds of other information to kind of look at those issues. And that's like, you know, what is Gordon Stouts music like? You know, this is partly why we've been doing a lot of work on analyzing the piece a little bit, because that can really help with the indefinite side, you know, giving us a perspective on what, you know, what's appropriate as far as expression goes. So, you know, this isn't a programmatic work like something maybe from the Romantic era, okay? You know, where music was really all about painting a picture or depicting a scene. I think in something like that, we're looking at a different percentage. Maybe 50% of it is learning the notes, and interpretation of it and the style of something is more important in that case. Okay, but since this etude is really about these processes that we've been talking about in previous episodes, where pitch is more equal to everything else. So, you know, it used to be maybe with Bach. Just for a good example, in Bach, we've got pitch and harmonic progressions being, you know, pretty much the highlight. That's the most important thing. I mean, articulation is not quite as important. Dynamic markings, you know, Bach never even really wrote those into his manuscripts. So, you know, it was really more about the way these pitches work together and the harmonic progressions underneath them. But in the 20th century, we see that completely change. Okay, pitch is, you know, it's always important in 20th century music. But other issues become equally, or sometimes even more important than pitch. Things, other musical elements like articulation, rhythm, the development of rhythm. We attribute Stravinsky a lot to that especially. And so, you know, those issues, those other elements of music become more important sometimes, or at least equally important. And I think that's true here in Stout's case. Okay, so what that means essentially is if we don't interpret the dynamics correctly, or the articulation markings in a way that's meaningful, we're essentially, you know, that's just as bad as missing notes in Bach, right? Because those are the same now. Everything is equal, all right? And I think that's an idea that I talk a lot about with my students, and you know, it's sort of, if you really realize that you know, once articulation is as important as pitch, we have to communicate that articulation to the audience just as much as we have to communicate the right pitches to the audience. Okay, so that's what's important. So that's why there's more work in that first percentage of that 70%. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about in previous episodes actually how okay, to show articulation, since it is important. And in the first couple measures, it's very important. We have the tenuto with the slur, measure 1, which continues through measure 2. And then in measure 3, we've got isolated events that are, very poignant and accented and very, very loud. And so we need to work to show that. So we've got bum, bum, slur, then an accent followed by a slur of notes into the dominant measure 3, and then 2/8 notes that are real poignant. And I'm going to try to work very hard in the way that I would actually show that as I play it to communicate that. So you can see the last 2/8 notes, the low C and this C sharp, D sharp, I'm using very quick articulated strokes. Whereas to bring out the more poignant, more exacting accents, and then the slurs are more fluid motions. This gets into my 6 M's. Make a musical motion that matches the musical moment. That's very, very important. Okay, so the next example, in measure 16, it's really all about fluidity, and so I need to show this fluidity. So that fluidity will help counteract the more articulated, heavy, quick strokes in there and help bring some life to the music. So that's an interpretive decision as well. Okay, a few other things to help you with that other 30%. It's really about dynamic control. It's very, very important. So exaggerate your dynamics throughout, and then think about the alternation of tempo and locking tempo, and then also the rubato that's in here too, and try to set them apart. That's like my day-night thing. When something is, day is only significant if there is night, right? So rubato is only significant if there is strict time. So if we're not good about our strict time, rubato is not important. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to try to play this whole etude for you and kind of show you how I do all this and what, in my opinion, what kind of role expression would take. And I hope all this makes sense. By the way, I never do editing in this show. Okay? Because that's, it kind of goes against what I think a show like this really should be. It should be sort of off the cuff. So I just hit a wrong note, but we're going to start again. So, I hope that makes sense to you, and give me some feedback. Today's question of the episode is simple. I want to know if you finished the piece. Let me know. Leave a comment, because, as this lives, this video is going to be online forever. I hope people do it continually. Every time you finish it, please, question of the episode. I want to know if you did it, who you are, what your name is, if you did it. And also, I need some feedback, because we're going to be doing this again, and I'd love to learn from this experience. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.